is done. Then indifference not done. Sound will be there. Imagination will be there. She's still doing it, right? Some of the things she's still doing it, or I hope she will. Okay. So see, in the same unit, mhm, see in the same unit, you have another related topic. Actually, we were supposed to do it after she finishes off with rhetoric, but then she's taking a little time. Mm, see, I had already introduced you to some of these concepts. I hope you remember them. The concept of syllable had been introduced to you, right? You remember?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Today I'm going to take up in the same line in continuation. This is also similar to rhetoric. You see, this is also a device using which we talk about the structure of a poetic line. Okay. In rhetoric, what you have been doing is you were given maybe a poetic line, and you were expected to talk about the creativity. Okay, creativity of the writer, how beautifully the writer has, maybe either presented a contrast or a similarity. So the beauty of the writer is what we do or analyze when we were talking about the figures of speech. So figures of speeches are what? The creative aspect that the writer has. Now, poetry can be made beautiful by the writer using this device also, which is known as the structure of a poetic line. So today here what I'm going to show you is how the structure can be analyzed. Now see, what a writer or what a poet does is he has already written down the structure. Now when we are reading, we as people of literature, we are supposed to analyze. So you can say scrutinize, or simply say study those different aspects of creativity that the writers have shown in the world of poetry. Okay, so prosody deals with also poetic analysis, but from a slightly different angle. And what is that angle? In prosody, we are going to go a step forward, and we are going to talk about the structural creativity of the writer, of the poet. Okay, so don't get confused. What Ma'am Shreya have been doing with you is about the creativity with regards to the words. Here also, when we do prosody, we will talk about words, but from a different perspective. And what is the different perspective? We will talk about with regards to the structure of words. Now, coming to the structure of words, I had introduced you to some of the concepts. The first concept that I had introduced you was the concept of syllables. Those of you who were in class, I'm sure you know what is a syllable. Syllable, I said, was a unit. It was a unit of sound, and syllable basically consists of three different slots. You remember? What were the three different slots? We had an onset slot, we had a nucleus slot, and then we had a coda slot, right? All these things we had talked about. Now, based on the concept of syllables, you see, we are here to talk about the structural patterns that a poet does in a line. So the first thing need know is in a given poetic line, right? In a given poetic line, how many syllables do we have? Okay, if you have your notebooks, your pens with you, please make a note of it. When we are going to do a prosody means the structural analysis of a poetry. The first step that we will be talking about, that we will be required to figure out, is how many syllables do we have in a poetic line. Okay, how many syllables do we have in a poetic line? Now, for those who have forgotten, I'm just giving you a repeated hint. Please count the number of vowels, the number of vowel sounds you speak. Depending on the number of vowel sounds, you will get the number of syllables. Every syllable will have one vowel sound, isn't it? So, how many vowel sounds do you have? If you have 10 vowel sounds, that means in one line you will have 10 syllables, right? So the first step that you will be required to figure out is the number of syllables in a poetic line. Okay, so once you figure out the number of syllables, then one step is reached. Okay, now the second thing, step number two. Step number two is, after you figure out the vowel sounds, you will have to determine which syllable out of the supposing 10 syllables that you have figured out in one line, which syllables in the line get an emphasis. Now, what is this emphasis and how will you determine the emphasis? I had also talked about the word stress. Did I talk about the word stress in class? Can somebody respond? Words, did I talk about stress? Yes, no? Hello? Are you there with me? Did I talk about the word stress?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Not at all? Okay, no problem. See, stress is what? If you sing, if you are in the field of music, or if you have ever tried to recite a poem, okay, you will see that all these things require you to change your pitch levels. Pitch, you understand? Your voice. Sometimes what we do is we raise our voice, sometimes we lower down our voice. Now, raising our voice for a special purpose, you know, tells us that that particular element, maybe that particular sound or that particular syllable on which we are raising our voice, that particular syllable is of importance. For example, you can say, see, look at the examples that I have on the slide. The word is angel. Okay, I write it down as a single spelling, ANGEL, angel. Okay, but when you speak, if you are a British speaker, British English speaker, you will try to put greater emphasis on the first syllable in this particular word. What is the first syllable? N, and the second syllable is gel. So how will you speak if you are a British speaker is, you will put an emphasis, that is, you will raise your voice when you are speaking the first syllable. So how speak angel? You will not say angel, you will say angel. Okay. Now, this raising of voice, in order to give importance to some syllables, this particular phenomena of raising our voice is called stress. This is also identified by another term that is called accent. You might be familiar with the word accent, right? Yeah, he has a British accent, he has an American accent. Lekin, what is that concept of accent? Accent means the tone in which you are speaking. Okay, we apply the similar concept here and we define stress, we define accent in the world of literary poetic analysis. Okay, so what will be stress? What will be accent for us? Stress and accent is a special phenomena using which we as speakers, when we recite a poem, when we sing, when we say something in our languages, we tend to emphasize on certain syllables. And the syllables that are emphasized, you know, you will see that they are spoken a bit louder compared to the other syllables. Now, why is this loudness? Why did I say that these syllables are spoken a little louder? Louder means they have to be made distinct, they have to be made special. So, if you say all the syllables in a flat tone, there will not be any difference in the way you speak. So the audience or the listener might not be able to differentiate ki which syllable you are giving importance. So that is why, as speakers or in the field of recitation, in the field of music, we generally tend to have greater emphasis on certain syllables and we give less emphasis on other syllables. How do we emphasize? We emphasize by speaking that particular syllable louder compared to the other syllables. Okay, this phenomena of giving special emphasis by speaking the syllable louder, by speaking the syllable with some kind of an extra force, speaking the syllable with some kind of an extra breath. You know, when we speak, what happens? We breathe out. So when we breathe out, extra air maybe comes out, and because the extra air comes out, we tend to exert greater force on those syllables. So if greater amount of air is out when we are speaking those syllables, definitely the syllable will be spoken louder compared to the other syllables. Correct. So this phenomena where we have a technique as speakers, and what is our technique? We breathe out more air, we speak out more loudly some syllables compared to the other syllables. This particular technique is used because we want to emphasize, give special importance to some syllables compared to the other syllables. Correct? This particular aspect is called stress or accent. Now get it? Now you see why I'm telling you the world of recitation, why I'm telling you the world of music, song. Those of you sing, you dance, or you play a musical instrument, you might be aware of the word beats. Music, song, you know, they have beats. What are these beats? These beats are nothing but the same stress that I'm talking about. When you sing, you have beats. Some of the syllables that you utter in via your song, you apply stronger force, and with that stronger force you say that music. It's having a rhythm. And how is that rhythm brought into the effect? The rhythm is brought into effect because we have this tendency of applying beats. What is beats? Beat is what we use as a term in the world of music. But when you recite a poem, you also have the same beat developed. And in the world of poetry, in the world of recitation, what we have? We don't say beat, we don't say loy, we say we have stress. Okay, so beats, stress, they're all working together hand in hand to give us a rhythmic quality. And when you recite, there is a difference between when I say you read a poem and you recite a poem. Reading a poem means you can simply read out the lines at the top of your voice, maybe. But recitation means you have to have a modulation of your voice. Sometimes your voice will go up on some words, sometimes your voice will come down on some words. That is the beauty of recitation, and that beauty gives you the rhythm. We say that is the rhythm. So, this rhythm is possible only when you have the effect of stress. Okay, so stress is nothing but an extra amount of force, an extra amount of breath that we use when we want to emphasize certain syllables, either in the world of poetry or in a casual speech. Now, in the Indian English that we speak, no, we are Indians, we speak Indian English. Our Indian English do not have this stress because our Indian languages generally they do not have stress. But if you look at how a British speaks English, in their English language, the way they speak, not the way they write, the way they speak, they have this rhythmic quality even in their casual day to day conversations. Okay, it is because in British English, not in American English, not in Indian English, but in British accent, in British English, there is a normal rhythmic effect. In a very, very casual way, also, when two Britishers would be speaking, you will find there is a rhythm. And this rhythm is brought about because they have the tendency to apply stress, apply accent when they are speaking in their day to day normal conversation also. But unfortunately, we as Indian English speakers, we don't have this particular phenomena in our language. Okay, now let's come. Is a concept of stress understood? Have you understood the concept of stress? Have you understood the concept of stress? Can you respond yes or no? Stress is understood. What do I mean by the word stress?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
somebody respond? Oh my god, after a long time. Okay, okay. Chalo. Arre. Okay, let's move on. Now, see, just for your reference, a particular word, for example, the word poem. Okay, the particular word poem has two syllables, out of which one syllable will be stressed. Okay, since it is a small word, poem, the first syllable po gets stressed, the second syllable m does not get stressed. Word number two is poetry. Here, what we have? Here we have again the first syllable is the stress. Okay, word. Please remember every word. First and foremost, you have to divide it into number of syllables, and then you see which syllable is getting the stress, which syllable is not getting the stress. Okay, this is the second step that you need to figure out. I told you the first step. What is the first step? The first step is you need to figure out how many syllables do you have in a line. Correct? The second step is you figure out which syllables get the stress. Okay, if you can figure out what are the syllables on which you are exerting stress when you are reciting the poem, when you are reciting the line, definitely half of your job is done. Okay, now let's come straight away to what do I mean by the term prosody. Prosody refers to the study of the different kinds of stressed and unstressed syllables. I just told you some syllables get the stress, some syllables do not get the stress. So, syllables that get the stress are called stressed syllables, and syllables which are not stressed, they are called unstressed syllables. Okay? So, what do we do in prosody? Very simple. In prosody, we are studying the different kinds of stressed and unstressed syllables. There is another term that you will find in your books. It is called scansion.